Welcome to the Coast Podcast. I'm Emily, a virtual assistant agency owner who left Amazon in 2019 to build my dream.
And I'm Whitney, a freelance writer and communications consultant who never felt at home in a cube farm.
We wanted to learn from people who paved their own ways like we did. So we created this podcast to talk to others who were brave enough to pick a different path. Creatives, entrepreneurs, people doing their careers and their lives their way.
Join us as we make new friends, get inspired, and show you beautiful paths less traveled.
Not every road leads to the coast, but the ones that do come with a great view. Before we get started with this episode, we do have to tell you that unfortunately we did experience some technical difficulties. We didn't know until after.
Yeah, we weren't uploaded. You know how we speak tech, and that is not well. So we rely on these systems to do what they say they're going to do. We're on a new system. We really like it, but it did not upload all of our audios. So we got what we got, and Tyler is so interesting and has such a cool story and a lot of depth. So we want to make sure that we have him back and that you also get a lot of value out of him because he is beautiful and incredible.
Agreed. We will definitely have him back. And then we will also link in the show notes how to get a hold of him because I don't think that part did upload. So here we go. Hope you enjoy.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Coast. My name is Whitney Popa, and I own a communications consultancy in Edmonds, Washington.
And my name's Emily Given. I own a virtual assistant agency in Lynnwood, Washington. And today we are hosting Tyler Young from Versitech. And I'm so excited for him to be here. We're going to go into a little bit about how we know each other. But Tyler, thanks for being here. Tell us.
Thank you.
Tell us more about what Versitech does, because as we were, discovering in our intro, it's a little more in depth than what can be said in one sentence. So I'm going to let you dive into that a little bit further.
Sure thing. Thanks, Emily. Versitech is really our holding company, and we have two go-to-market brands. One is Tonic Point of Sale, and the other is Bold Integrated Payments. One in Tonic is focused on restaurant hospitality point of sale solutions, and Bold Integrated Payments focuses on ISVs and VARs, which are software companies or resellers of softwares, on how to monetize payment processing.
That sounds very, very techy. So that's...
Yeah, it's complex.
It can be. There's a lot of complexity to it, which is on the Bold side, we focus on teaching people how to understand payments and how to monetize it with a white glove service. So today we have 260 partners with over 10,000 customers. And through those customers, we're on track this year to actually process $7 billion in processing. The brand is a new launch. We just launched it about 2 months ago, and it's completely focused on selling the solutions to restaurants through POS partners. And the two services really blend together because every business needs to accept payment processing. So we've integrated it into our own point of sale. So it's still one company. We have 65 employees now, and we service whether they're a Bold reseller or a Tonic reseller. It kind of blends into one. So it sounds a little more complicated than it is.
How long have you been at this company, or when did it start?
Well, my journey started in this company when I was 23. So what was that, 2009, I think? And in 2009, I was working for First National Bank in Nevada that got bought by Moneris out of Canada. And then they shut down everything in the States. And that's when I decided to start my own business in payment processing, which has just evolved ever since 2009 to what it is today.
But how? How would you even do that? You have something in your brain and then you create software? Are you an engineer?
And how did you choose payments? I have so many questions.
Yeah.
I like where we're going with this conversation because I didn't choose payments and I didn't choose software and I don't develop. So nothing would have said in growing up that I would be where I am today. I recall writing down in high school for prom, those things that we did. It was, I want to be a fireman. And so that's the career choice that I made through school. And then everything else, just life happened and opportunities presented themselves. And I chose the ones I wanted to pursue. And that just continually led me down to where I am today. I think it's one of the things that a lot of people miss is they can be so focused in on what they believe they should be doing or believe what they're supposed to be doing, that opportunities present themselves and they miss them. And my life is just simply the equation of seeing the opportunities and pursuing them, because I would have never thought payments. I would have never thought point of sale. I don't know how to program or code. I have many programmers that work for me and I have a vision of what the product can do, but I couldn't be here without an entire team. And I certainly wouldn't have chose it, because we often choose a career path of what we're good at ourselves because we have some form of control of the outcome. And in the situation with technology, I have no control of the outcome. And the opportunity to get into point of sale presented itself and it made sense. And I found the right team to build the business on.
This is so timely because I've been so quick little backstory. Tyler and I know each other from a reality show that we were on together. He was a judge, I was a contestant, called The Blocks. And it's a startup accelerator, would you call it?
I would definitely say it's a startup accelerator. For what I really like about the blocks is it's for everyday
Right.
business, not the potentially high value. And most incubators are looking for that next big thing. And I think the blocks really focused in on every type of business, even hair salons, construction companies, because those individuals need a lot of feedback and direction as
Yep.
well. And the blocks gave you, Emily, access to a lot of experienced individuals through the blocks that gave advice on everyday business. I'm a big fan of that show, and I'm glad we met there.
Yes. And
I heard it was a cult,
it is a cult. I mean, it's not,
business
I mean,
cult.
on the record, it's not a cult, but
Yeah, it's a community, is what
totally.
I'd say. It's a community of people that are like-minded, that are going through similar issues, and often, leadership, entrepreneurship is lonely. And I think everyone that ends up at the blocks relate with one another, whether they're feeling lonely or not, just being around people that are facing the same battles that you're facing. Because it's everyone that goes is less than 2 million in revenue.
Yep.
Whether they're a pre-startup or they're in business today, they haven't broken through that ceiling yet. So a lot of the issues that everyone faces are very similar.
Mm-hmm. And sorry, that long roundabout thing was like, this is very timely because at the blocks, we learned a lot about the way to scale, and that's to replace manual things with technology. And I've been wanting to do that in my business for a long time, but I've always been like, I'm not techie. I'm not a developer. I don't know what I'm doing. And so you saying that you weren't techie, you weren't a developer, and you just like learned how to create the right team, that's very timely for me just because I've been thinking about it a lot lately. So
Well, how is it going? Are you implementing some of these changes so far?
lots of them. Yes, lots of them. Implementing lots of changes in regards to like the hiring process, in regards to like lead generation and things like that. So outsourcing to a lot of teams. I'm really good at delegating. So, which is good because that's what I teach people how to do. But it's just really interesting to me that what you're saying is you don't have to be good at what you want to do. You can become good at it and you can utilize your network of people around you to help you pursue those goals.
I would agree with that statement. I would 100% agree with that statement. And it can be really difficult to force things, to force a dream, to force your reality of what you think should be an outcome. I've always really remained open to finding the best outcome of the situation that I'm in. And sometimes that's an opportunity, like buying a point of sale company. I didn't go out there looking to buy a point of sale company in 2017. I found the opportunity by looking to partner with the company. And as we started to engage, it went from meeting from the first time. 3 months later, I acquired the company in full. And that wasn't the intent of the meeting, but that's what the opportunity showed me. And I wasn't prepared to take that on, but looking at the opportunity and the vision, it keys in that you have a vision of what you can do with what you see. And those visions, sometimes a lot of us have them for years. I've always wanted to do this. I've always wanted to do that. Sometimes new visions can come with just the most odd situation. And I just simply encourage people. And what I've done is just embraced those new visions that show up based on this environment that you're in. Because, Emily, it's hard to, if you're not techie and you don't know what to do, where do you look? But if you go on a show and you meet some techie people who outline, these are 3 services I use, that's just seizing the opportunity and run with it. You could take those 3 services. You could go spend hours and hours researching them. You can look at all their competition and you can then decide. What I've always encouraged people is to take the opportunities that just happen in front of you. And sometimes you just have to run with it. And I know at the show, they talked about multiple different platforms you can use for technology. And I would just use that as a microcosm of just in business in general, employees, partners, things will come your way, new business ventures, new ways to make money, and remain open to those because they may surprise you and you can become passionate. Like I was never passionate about payments or POS. I've certainly become passionate about it, but it wasn't where my passion was. It was my dad was a fireman. I wanted to be a fireman. That was my passion. But now I'm able to help people through employment and customers rather than help them as an individual. I had to kind of shift my brain over the years away from directly impacting lives. And that's me rounding it back around to my passion was still helping other people. And I just found a different vehicle because the opportunities that came my way.
What I get bogged down in that, which I love your whole story, and I'm still sitting here in the logistics. Emily knows this. I'm like, anything that involves like a lot of logistics and administrative stuff, I'm like, oh, this is too much. Like the founder of ClassPass, same thing. She had the vision for this community and matching website where you can have you can go to multiple studios with your one class pass. You buy 10 classes and then you have up to X amount of studios that you can go to using that pass. And that was her vision because she wanted to do a bunch of different classes at different studios and she didn't want to have to pay for all of these different.
Is this like studios for working out, like yoga and things
Yep.
like that?
Yep. And they've expanded beyond that, but it started, yeah, dance classes, yoga. She had all these different athletic interests, and then you're paying a monthly fee or you're buying different packs. So she did a class pass where it's basically you have this pass, you can go any studio that opted in. She has multiple customers in that too because she has the
Mm-hmm.
studios, she has the people who are experiencing the studios, she has the techie people. So with you, you're like, I decided to do point of sale and I built my team, but you need money. She raised money. So what did that process look like for you of like, I can find a programmer. I have a vision of creating X beautiful thing and I can go find programmers. I understand that part, but like, what about the money?
Great question. The story you just told me of her concept reminds me of when I was in high school for the fundraisers where you could buy, I don't know if you guys ever had these, but for $20, you got a coupon business card essentially, and you got deals at all these different
Yep.
restaurants. Every business that opted in,
Hmm.
they basically donated something to raise money and you bought a $20 card. And the concept you just described to me is almost identical to that. It's just in a different business application that she
Mm-hmm.
applied it to, which is just to negotiate with the vendors to
Right.
get an offering and then just bring in random, new customers through that offering. Uh, Great concept. I mean, it's proven to work already, and now she just applied it to a different business model. So good on her. On my raising money, I've actually never raised money. This conversation I know is about me. I could certainly advise, in one of the classes at the blocks was actually fundraising. and we discuss that more into depth. But my journey has been very different on that. I have just had strong work ethic from a young age, starting at 12 or 13. I was picking blueberries for a living, went on to load the blueberries at 13 or 14 on the truck. And, the other guy loading only spoke Spanish, and I would hang out with him. It was a fun experience, and my friends would bike around their bicycles, and I just chose to continue to work for many different reasons, and that went on to working at the scenic fruit graveyard shift all summer long, packing berries. It was a lot of fun. In that case, my brother and some other friends joined, and then outdoor school as a cook, and then as a server at multiple restaurants, and then a merchant services sales rep, and then to my own business. So my journey was just all over the place of just jobs that kind of presented themselves. That's why I say look for those opportunities. And then just being really conservative with the money. So I've been able to start the business without raising funds, acquire the companies without raising funds. I've completed 5 M&As since 2017. We're doing extremely well as a business through cash flow management. I think it's key to manage the cash flow that I do have access to. And if I needed to borrow funds, then I would seek that out. And I think the fact that I didn't may have limited my ability to grow, because opportunities that were too costly, I wouldn't pursue. And so it was just smaller micro transactions that I could consume with the cash flow that I was building. For example, when I started the company, it was just me and one other person. And I had to basically pull out of my own savings at that point. The only thing I really remember is like when I graduated high school, I already had like $18,000 or $20,000 saved up, and I owned a car, and I just kept going from there. Bought a house at 22, I think, years old. And so I was just able to tap into a pretty small savings and reinvest that and earn enough revenue to hire the next person and the next person. And I just live, even to this day, a very conservative lifestyle. And I just put every dollar that I make back into the business rather than into myself. Now, that doesn't mean it always works that way. There was a period in my life where I had, emotional trouble. I was married for 3 months, and we got separated. It was 7 years together, but she was unfaithful for the entire relationship, and I got rocked. I took a year off. I think I had 60 or 70 grand at the time. I spent every dollar, maxed out every credit card. And I had my business at that point. Maybe I was making like $6,000 a month in recurring revenues. Took a year off, spent it all, had fun, went and stayed with a friend, and decided I wanted to go back to work, and really started from the bottom at that point. I think there was $1,700 in the bank account. My mortgage was around $1,600, and I had to go back to work. And there's nothing like having nothing to light a fire under your ass. And I think that for me, I didn't have to raise money because I just wanted to earn it myself. I don't recommend that for everybody, because it's not for everybody, and it's not for every idea. Some ideas need to raise funds. That's my story.
No, I love that. That's exactly what I was wondering. And it's always helpful for me. I don't want to say it's an easier path. Every path has its pros and cons, but you see people have an idea and then go raise money for it. That's like kind of what they talk about in the blogs mostly. But to have somebody who's very methodical and on the path and reinvesting, that's not as sexy for the news to talk about. And so hearing it from you versus the person who goes out and turns up all this venture capital to do whatever and scale quickly, I love a long game.
I think you lose a lot of your core values when you raise money. And I think core values are extremely important to the business. We have our 4 core values. And I think when you raise money, the objective really becomes a return. And when you have investors that are not vested emotionally into the business and into the people and into the customers, decisions are just purely financial. And for us, one of our core values is a people first mentality. Actually, our start of all of our core values is we serve a people with a people first mentality. And, I have a business partner. in the last M&A now. I'm not 100% sole owner. That changed June of last year in the last round where I partnered with Bold and my good friend Gary Liu. And it has been a journey to have partners. It's very different. And we elected to not raise funds. We actually brought our companies together to pursue the tonic point of sale because our competition is Toast and Spot On and Clover and all of these companies that are losing hundreds of millions of dollars every year, and they have much bigger budgets than us. But together, we have a great market strategy through resellers, and we serve them rather than serve the dollar. And the long game, as you said, Whitney, that's exactly how we feel we're playing it. That because the ups and downs of the financial situations of businesses, and you saw Toast during COVID lay off 1,000 people. Well, during COVID, we didn't have to lay off anyone. And there's just a difference when you prepare for those scenarios and you have a slow, steady growth and you don't get forced to make decisions for a return. For example, we've spent millions and millions of dollars on Tonic, launched it 2 months ago. We have 56 partners that have asked to sign up, but we have one deal. So we have signed up one deal through our partners at this point, which is okay. It's what we forecasted, but we've invested millions into it. The answer to that, Whitney, is 15 plus years of Gary and I independently made enough money to essentially be our own private investors on the Tonic software that we are pursuing. And our core values will remain true. We have no intentions of, raising any funds at this time. I do see the value in it if we have some partnership we can't afford that you can raise them. But I think if you have a business out there, you really need to tread carefully when you look at raising funds and guard against the controls that you would give the investor to take over at certain milestones. And I would find investors that allow you to maintain that control. And they're out there if they believe in you, if they believe that your business will work, but more importantly, that you will ensure it doesn't fail and that you're all in. There are investors that will angel invest that don't require all the controls that most of them want.
Do you ever get shiny object syndrome? I get it pretty bad. Like where you see something, for me right now, it's like learning and courses, and I'm in a creation mode where you got to stay on the line with your creation. You're not consuming, invest in yourself in that way. And in your world, like you're saying, the competitors, they're doing all these things bigger and faster. And it's got to take a lot of respect for yourself and what you've built to not give in to shiny object syndrome and go after something or make an impulsive decision. Like, how do you not?
I'm going to break that down into two responses. The first one about shiny objects is certainly something we all struggle with. And that's why really one of the keys to someone that is successful is their ability to have intense focus for long periods of time.
Totally.
And if you have that skill set, you're successful in whatever you put it towards. And then there's I would use the word pressure or fear when you work in an industry with a lot of competition, and especially with a lot of competition that has a lot more money than you. And I think that there's pressures that you feel when they're launching new concepts, new ideas, new solutions, raising more money, and that you have to sometimes wonder, did I see this opportunity right? Or did I miss this one? There's a pressure for that. So I think what is important, especially as a CEO, when you're pursuing that, is to have overwhelmingly confidence in what you're trying to achieve, because it's not only the owner or the CEO that sees that, it's every staff member, every employee, every partner that we work with, wondering, how are you going to keep up? How are you going to keep up when they launch this new thing and your competitor has this new solution? So there's certainly an anxiety that is felt generally briefly when you see that your competition is doing something that you think is really cool. And you're like, I wish I could do that. and you know you're just never going to get there, or maybe you will. I think the key for me is just knowing that what they're doing is actually not necessary for success. It's cool, but not required.
So, how do you differentiate? And I think this is important for other aspiring entrepreneurs to hear. How do you differentiate between shiny object, or what you're saying is this is a new opportunity presenting itself? And how do you choose which of those to follow?
That's the magic question. That really is, and it's different for every person. I actually kind of feel blessed that I've just made the right decisions that have led me down this path at my age. And I really have to think how. A lot of it for me, I think, is just God's path that I've been blessed to have. There's a lot of backstory. We all have them. Probably won't have time today to go over it. But I think that sometimes you just know what you need to be doing and what's the right call. And often the right call is not always the easiest. And I think most people take the easiest path because it makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, this is easy. These things are lining up. But there's a calling to saying, I should be doing this. And I think they ignore it.
We're big on the messages and intuition and the inner knowing and the gut feelings. And we're super big about that if you've listened to us. So
I did.
we're all
I
about
did
it.
listen. And I think that's taking the risk that you guys have talked about, living the life that you want to live. You guys talk about that. And when you see the opportunities that come along, just recognizing that more often than not, the hardest one is the right one. We can be wrong, though. We've all been wrong. I've had plenty of directions that I've taken, nothing major that would impact it, but small decisions that could have been better or misread situations. It happens to all of us. So I will do my best to quantify it of exactly my approach to it. When I see an opportunity, the first thing that I'm going to assess on that is what's the potential return. And that return could be financial, it could be emotional. And that's really where I first look at it is is it financial? Then if it is, I'm going to run down the series of how much money is it going to cost? What's the potential return? And what is the time commitment? That's the biggest. What is the time commitment it's going to take to get there? Because even if I can invest 100 grand and make 400 grand, but it's going to take me 5 years and it's going to take me 40 hours a week, that it wouldn't be when I sign up for. If it is more an emotional opportunity where someone is in need, for example, I had an employee come to me this morning and dropped a kind of one-liner and walked out. Actually, it had to do with this mic I'm using today. He's like, "Oh, that's a crappy mic." And he said, whatever, and walked out. So I called him back in the room. We ended up talking for 2 hours. And he had a lot of stuff going on in his personal life. And so in that moment, I assessed, I have a lot of work to do today. I have this call with you guys. And I spent 2 hours talking to my employee. And I spoke with him because clearly something was going on. And no matter what it was, for to be upset about the choice of brand that the marketing team bought in the mic, I know it's not about the mic. It's about something else. So I stopped, took the time, and invested into him. And I saw that that doesn't give me any financial return, but it certainly will change his work production today, his, energy within the office. And I decided that was an opportunity for me to pursue that had no financial gain, but negatively impacted the rest of my entire day that I'm behind now on. So that's a small example of opportunities. They're not always business opportunities. They're an interaction with every single person. And if you treat it that way and you just make the best of each of them, I have no doubt everyone would find success.
What are your practices for getting to this very thoughtful, evolved place that you approach everything with? Because it seems like you have a lot of tools.
I mean, something before she says something that I was really intrigued about Tyler, knowing him on the blocks, or just he's definitely an evolved man for sure. Like he's very in touch with emotions, and that's something that I absolutely love about you. Like like you were able to just talk to like this giant group about, these big, impactful experiences that we're all having and like on a very deep personal level. And not a lot of people, I think people are afraid to go there. And it's really refreshing that you're not.
That was fun having the fireside chat on the blogs. That's what Emily is referring to on the one of the last nights. I think this is airing after January, right? I want to. Are we airing this after January, after the
This?
blocks air?
Oh no,
Yeah.
this will be in like 2 weeks. Yeah.
Okay, just checking. We won't give it away. Well, really exciting experience for me. I'll say it differently, knowing that is on Thursday night we did a fireside chat with about 35 people. What would you say, Emily?
Yeah, I
That were
was
there.
late. Sorry.
You were
Yeah, I
late,
was
but you
late.
were impactful.
Yeah.
You showed up and spoke right away. And it was really cool that Wes and the team gave me an opportunity to do that because they were really breaking everyone out into small groups where a judge would take 4 or 5 people into a room and really connect with them. And then on the last day, or that Thursday, Alden and Wes approached me with, "Hey, we're just going to let you moderate the entire group." And that was something they hadn't done before. So I was pretty excited to have this fireside chat, but I also had no idea what I was going to talk about. And I didn't really have a lot of direction. There was a lot of trust that we'd figure it out. I remember standing there with Travis and he's like, "Okay, what are you going to do?" And I didn't know, but I knew I was going to do it. And it felt really good to go up there and share a story. There's a great backstory that's talked about on there. With my brother had leukemia at 23 months. He was diagnosed at 23 months. And I was in my mom's, she was pregnant with me. It's probably the best way to say it. So I was just born into hospitals. And for the first 5 years, we were in the hospitals. And sadly, my brother's the only child that survived through any of my experience being in those hospitals. And I'm kind of jumping to it that he's turned 40 this year, which is an exciting story that I have his survival, but everything he's gone through. Going through that at a young age, then going through a lot of betrayals with friends and family. And that's one of the things that is we talk about motivating people. What we're trying to do here, hopefully the listeners are leaving inspired to pursue their own dreams and their own careers to change their lives, but is what gets you stuck. If we want to talk about how I got here, it's really more about what events in life got you stuck and how you overcome those events to become an evolved version of yourself so you can pursue even more and greater opportunities. And so it started for me young, being around a lot of sick children, being the middle brother, but really due to Ryan's going through, what do you have? 5 rounds of chemotherapy or 3 rounds of full body chemotherapy, 5 rounds of targeted radiation. He just had a heck of a go. And I think that forged me into caring about people, genuinely caring about people and what they go through and wanting to lift their spirits. And then going through just personal betrayals. I mean, that's the word that fits everything. Everyone's experience. You felt betrayed by a loved one, by a friend, by a coworker. I mean, there's just constant betrayals we face every day. And those betrayals, I think, can really get us stuck. And we get stuck in that moment, that anger, those emotions, those frustrations. I think the key to growing is to process those emotions. I mentioned to y'all I took a year off and I went and partied and I drank, and my buddy was in the military, so I went down there to be with him. He just got back from Iraq, and I had a lot of fun with those guys. And I'll tell you, they party hard. Military guys coming back from overseas, they take things to the next level. So I didn't process any of those things at that age in the mid-20s. It was just, hey, I'm going to gung ho, I'm going to work, and not process them. So to get where I've gotten now, I've actually used something called TAPAS acupuncture treatment. TAT. It's actually a tool that everyone can utilize. I'm a really, really big fan of it. Let's see here. Matter of fact, I was just recommending it to an employee. So there's this website we found called TATLife, TATLife.com. And it's a monthly subscription. I just found out about it a couple of days ago, so don't take my word for it. But they really know what they're talking about. And it's just a pressure point on your forehead with your middle finger and a hand on the back of your head. and a series of words that you say and you process a thought. I've gotten really good at it now that I don't have to use any words,
We're
and I can
all
just.
about this. Like
You
more,
guys know this?
more.
Are you
No,
familiar with it?
not this one, but we're all about things
We've
like this. EFT,
we've
tapping.
used EFT,
Yeah,
yeah.
lots of, yeah.
Okay.
Give it to
For
us.
me, for me, I found therapy is important to process things, and you have the therapist who says scream in a pillow and yell no and be upset, and I describe that as letting off the steam, but the cap goes back down and you're going to boil over again. And I found that, first of all, therapy really requires that you be open, and that took a lot of emotional hurt and pain to be willing to become that open. But once you become that open and you realize that you're seeing the world through kind of a foggy lens, but you don't know it because you're hurt. Generally, it's about being hurt. That's what it comes down to. People are hurt. They are concerned. They're living with some level of fear of being themselves, and they don't know it.
Yeah.
And they just don't know it until you clear that up. So for me, utilizing TAT just to clear up some of my pain and betrayal that I felt through mostly my personal relationships. Once I used TAT, it never came back. New issues come up, but I think it took 2 hours the first time working through my issues, which I won't share all here, but relationships have them. And I wasn't angry anymore because I was mad for a little bit. And once I cleared that up, I realized it's not just that betrayal. It's every day. It's every interaction with a friend, with a family member, with the guy that's driving erratically or the gal that's driving erratically, or the person that's driving really slow when you're in a hurry and you're getting frustrated, or, someone bought the wrong mic and you're going to make a snide comment and walk away. There's always so much more behind it. So I should, not that I do it enough, process using TAT every day to say, let it go and let those emotions go, because they affect every decision that you're making. They affect how you treat your significant other. They affect how you treat your children. And not enough people realize it. So for me, I've used this tool to stay incredibly emotionally calm. And I think we make the best decisions when we're calm. You can see other people get elevated, get upset, yell, and you remain calm and open to helping them.
Thank you so much for being here. And we will see you. We just do this awkward, cute thing every time. So thanks for coming to another episode of The Coast. Bye. See you later.